Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sup Talk Radio. If you enjoy science and you enjoy ingredients, put on your learning cap because today will be no different. Today we are joined by Sean Wells, CSO of NNB Nutrition and founding partner of Ingenious Ingredients, as well as Raza Bashir, VP of Product Innovation of Iovate. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us on, Sean.
So the big topic today, paraxanthine. I know it's trending and it's very, very popular, something you guys are moving towards. Sean, I know you're a lot behind this. Do you want to educate us and tell us what it's all about?
Yeah, so it's being featured in this product that's so amazing that I literally am using every day with or without workout, called Euphoric from MuscleTech with an IQ at the end. But we started work on this ingredient, my partners and I at Ingenious Ingredients, Dr. Ralph Yeager, Dr. Martin Purpura, and Kylan Lau, about 7 years ago. And this is a caffeine metabolite. So there are 3 metabolites that come from the metabolism of caffeine. When you consume caffeine, it will convert into theophylline, theobromine, and the one that we're really excited about is paraxanthine. And it might seem like, okay, I take caffeine, I just get paraxanthine. But what we're seeing is that, one, caffeine is the thing associated with most of the side effects, is most of the toxicity, and that this 3-methyl group might be responsible for that, which caffeine is 1,3,7-trimethylxanthine. And theophylline is one of the dimethylxanthines and is a bronchodilator and is a controlled substance, has a ton of side effects. And theobromine, which you find in cocoa, is toxic to cats and dogs, has its own side effects. And what we find is that the dimethylxanthine, that's a 1,7-dimethylxanthine, paraxanthine, where the 3-methyl position is removed, it's demethylated, that it has an extremely clean experience. It lifts mood, makes you feel good, lifts energy and focus. And this has been so exciting to us also because I believe Raza is as well, am a slow metabolizer of caffeine. And we're finding about 59% of the population is a slow metabolizer, and therefore has more side effects than benefits because they're stuck in this caffeine space and not converting to the one that has all the benefits and positive effects, paraxanthine. And then you have these people that are on, sorry, is there like some crunching or something?
I don't know. I hear it stopped.
Oh, it sounded like someone's like eating crunching food or something.
I did hear that too.
No, so it is converting to. Is it just me?
I think it might be you, Sean, but
that's so weird. Okay. Well, I'll let someone else jump in, but like basically the fast metabolizers are the ones that just can have caffeine and go straight to bed, and they're not getting much benefit either. So the slow metabolizers are having all the side effects with very little benefits, and the fast metabolizers are quickly adapting where they need more and more and more, and they're not getting the benefits either.
So when you say a fast responder and a slow responder, is that synonymous with almost like tolerance, or is that something different? Because people use the word caffeine tolerance.
Yeah, and for some reason, yeah, like I'm muted there, and it's not me, so I don't know where that's coming from. I don't know if you guys hear it or not, but am I crazy? Do you guys hear this?
No, we can hear it. It's somebody's mic.
Okay, I think it was Scott's.
I'm muting mine. I'll mute mine on again. Maybe it's on this side. I think it's the competition is just getting crushed. And you can kind of hear the competition getting crushed. And so it's echoing over this live stream. Well, let me just put on mute, okay? Guys.
Yeah, that's crazy. So caffeine tolerance, no, that would be called adaptation, and that
Okay.
is what's happening with the fast metabolizers. And so that they're quickly adapting, and that's why they need more and more and more. You don't see this effect with paraxanthine. And with what I was talking about earlier, this fast and slow metabolizers, is that that's the CYP1A2 gene responsible for caffeine metabolism. So that's different than the adaptation effect. But with the CYP1A2, all these people that are slow metabolizers, if we look at studies where caffeine was used to increase cognitive or physical performance, and we see these equivocal results, it's typically because the slow metabolizers were actually getting negative results, and the fast metabolizers can get positive results. And then that ends up being kind of mixed together. And in the studies now where we're delineating that, where we now can tell, like, this is why this is happening, because so many of us struggle to metabolize caffeine properly, so much so that you have, just a wide bioindividuality of half-life of caffeine, where it can be, a couple hours all the way up to like 10 and a half hours for the half-life, which means days later you can still have caffeine in your system, which explains why so many of us like might have a Diet Coke in the morning and still can't sleep, or some of us can have a Monster at 8 p.m. and go to bed. So it's just a wild variance, but paraxanthine solves that.
So in layman's terms, Sean, so fast responders can basically go to bed with no issues, and then someone like myself, I cannot have any caffeine past, let's say, 2 o'clock, even if it's a typical 6-ounce cup of coffee, which is 80, 90 milligrams of caffeine. I won't sleep that night.
Yeah, exactly. And this is exactly what's happening, and why we're so excited about paraxanthine, because fast or slow metabolizers, you've never experienced this molecule like this, because we're also removing the caffeine, the theophylline, the theobromine, all their metabolites. All of that's getting cleared away for just a truly clean experience where you feel that dopamine lift, you feel the adenosine inhibition, you feel nitric oxide increase in your brain, you have increased BDNF for neuroplasticity, you increase glutathione and catalase, reduce oxidative stress. Across the board, there's so many things that are happening that are affecting you in a positive way for mental performance as well as physical performance.
And Sean, you mentioned earlier less toxicity. Like, what type of toxicity would someone see from caffeine versus obviously less being paraxanthine?
Yeah, I mean, that gets down to like just looking at LD50, right? Like, so that lethal dose for like half of the participants in these animal toxicity studies. So, looking at that level, like the toxicity level for this ingredient is dramatically less than any of those other ingredients that I mentioned. So it's the safest by far and away, versus caffeine and the other metabolites. And again, we think that has to do with this 3-methyl position.
Got it. Now, Raza, for someone that's using this, obviously we've got a few products from MuscleTech that are using this, and we'll get into that momentarily. What would someone feel like? What would be the differences to a user that's, generally caffeine and trying something new?
Yeah, we're starting to get some really remarkable feedback. It is starting to come in now. I had the pleasure of trying, formulating, coming up with all these different concepts really for almost the last 2 years, just trying to perfect it and get it out there. But now what we're trying to do is we are collecting feedback from all the beta testers, all the people are getting samples, the people are buying it. And the biggest thing that people are commenting on is the amazing focus, mood, and that elevated energy. So naturally, when people want to take a pre-workout, right, we're thinking about how can we get the most of our workouts? It's almost like that motivation in a bottle.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that is what we're delivering, but it is this, that tunnel vision effect that you'd expect from sort of stimulants and you're getting that, but it's just cleaner. It is cleaner. You're not feeling necessarily the rush from like the heart rate, but you're still getting that in the zone feel, and you're almost just like you forget about everything else. You are focused on what you're doing. So if it's, as Sean talked about, whether he's working out or not, it's similar. Sometimes I'm just trying to be as productive as I can through the day. It enhances productivity. It is just been incredible. And for someone who's tried, that's formulated with essentially, for the past 15 years, I've tried every stimulant imaginable. And what we've been trying to do is provide caffeine. We know caffeine works, and we know it works well. It's just when you get to those high doses that are most efficacious, like for example, that 400 milligrams, which now kind of like it almost seems alarming when I say that, but that is the dose that delivers on results. There's no doubt about that if you take it at the right time, if you are the fast metabolizer. It just, to get that, there's a lot of downsides, and you may not, now that we know all those things that Sean was explaining about, if you are the slow metabolizer, you're not going to get those benefits, and you're going to get a lot of the downsides that we've almost associated with efficacy in some ways, but it's not the efficacy, right? Like the jitters, the heart rate, and things like that. So it is a different experience. I will say that. It's not like exactly what you'd expect from a pre-workout. It is a bit cleaner, but dialed in the zone.
So, because I actually, I don't know if you'll see it here, but I actually have a bottle myself here, which I'm very proud to say I'm using. For me, I just feel a good, I know, Sean, you've used the term swagger very often in some of your other interviews, which I love. For me, to be honest, I just feel like more of a good self-being, just good feeling myself, and just less anxiety.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the feedback we get often. Swagger just came up early on when we were testing this with users, and we love that because it's the dopamine lift is different, and there's actually a serotonin lift too, and people just feel a greater level of confidence. And it's this we've come to expect like caffeine is like a come at a cost ingredient, right? And this is entirely different, where you're getting optimized. We're actually seeing, instead of the adaptation effect where performance declines with continued use at that level, we're actually seeing performance increase with continued use with paraxanthine because of all these positive things, because of the reduced amyloid plaque, because of improved neuroplasticity, because of glutathione and catalase increasing, and nitric oxide increasing, and dopamine and serotonin increasing, and all reduced oxidative stress. All of these things that are happening, we're seeing that there's a time effect that actually it's improving your health, which is pretty exciting. Like that's where like, all these other ingredients in the past that outdid caffeine, we saw like the risk and the toxicity and the dangers be greater, right? Like it's definitely come at a cost. Like caffeine comes at a cost, like you got to pay the piper, so to speak. And then with ephedrine and DMAA, the risks were greater than even caffeine. Yep. But this one is outperforming caffeine and better for you, which is winning.
And I know you mentioned earlier, many people, I'd be curious how many people realize that caffeine breaks down. I should say there's 3 metabolites, as you mentioned, is paraxanthine.
I'm not sure. Sorry, my Wi-Fi is like, I switched from 3G to regular landline. I'm not sure what's, so I can't even see Sean. It's on my side. Chance. So you guys get anything?
Yeah,
Scott,
I think you're going to have to drop, Scott.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just drop it off here.
Okay.
So anyway, my understanding is that paraxanthine breaks down actually 84%, and theobromine 12%, and theophylline about 4%.
So that's true for of the dimethylxanthines. There's some other things that are produced, these methyl urates. It's actually about 70% of a total that paraxanthine is made. But again, the question is the rate. So if this is happening with a half-life of 10 and a half hours, and you're still trying to convert this 3 days later, you're getting like this drip drop of paraxanthine and staying in this area with all these side effects. And even when you're converting to these other things with side effects. So you can imagine, like, for some people, caffeine is actually hell. It's really not healthy at all. And for some people, they're not really getting much benefit. So it's like, why are you using it? And so, it's just the fact that caffeine is so omnipresent that we reach for it. But now we have something else to reach for, thanks to MuscleTech.
Raza and Sean, do you feel as a society we're over-caffeinated?
I would say
it's a $1 trillion plus industry.
I mean, yeah, I would say so for sure, and it's done a lot of good in some ways, right? I mean, if we talk about productivity and what we need to do, often to get through a day, it is a vicious cycle, right? It's become a vicious cycle that this demand for this level of energy from caffeine, and then how long it takes to metabolize for a majority of people, how long it stays with you, how it impacts your sleep. And then if it impacts your sleep, you're even more dependent on it. So that's the biggest challenge. But I would say, there's a lot of good that can come from, well, now in particular, I'd say we didn't have a substitute till today. So, this is like the perfect substitution, but yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that, Sean, that like, caffeine, got us this far. Caffeine is responsible for so much good in society, and there's a reason that so many people use it. We wouldn't have our second and certainly third shifts without it. We wouldn't have the productivity that we have without it. We wouldn't have all these coffee houses and energy drinks and sodas and all these things, obviously, without it having some degree of efficacy. It's just a question of evolution, and it's time for something better. This is the 2.0. This is the big jump forward, where we don't look back.
So, Sean, there's a couple of people asking questions here. It says, so with someone like me who can take a Monster and go right to bed, how would this be a benefit to someone like me?
It's going to be night and day. I mean, like literally, this is, and this is why we encourage people to do this. We want people to just try it. Like, I can go through all the science. I have a friend that's a billionaire that I was talking to the other day, and he was shaking me down, explain all the science. And, he has a very analytical mind. He owns an AI company. And I went through all of it, and he's like, how are you going to get consumers to understand all that? I said, I don't need to. They just need to try it once. Like, no one needed like all the science on ephedrine or DMAA or even caffeine. You just use it and it works. And for someone that's a fast metabolizer, they're no longer seeing the benefit. They've adapted so quickly to whatever level of caffeine they used to see benefit. They just no longer see it unless they use 400, 500, I don't know, whatever, some crazy level. And of course, there's side effects that come with that. So for them, they're going to see efficacy, but also see efficacy continuously at the same dose.
Sean, in previous podcasts that I've seen, you mentioned there was some clinical studies going on for weight loss and gaming and some things along those lines. Is there anything more you can share with that, or is that still kind of behind the scenes? And the gaming community is growing exponentially, and this could be huge.
Yeah. So the gaming study isn't completed. With both of these studies, we had opened them blinded to work on some patent filing. But the fat loss study, we just got results. We just need to analyze it further so I can report back in about 2 weeks. I know some things, but I really can't speak to it quite yet. I think I will just say, let me put it this way. In both of them, we were very pleased.
Good.
I'll put it that way. Very pleased on both studies. From what we've seen so far, we're very pleased. And it's no surprise. Like in everything that we put paraxanthine in, it's outperformed placebo and it's outperformed caffeine. And so much so, like caffeine is actually counterproductive, again, to a sizable number of people.
Scott, hopefully we're working now. How are you?
Yeah, sorry guys. I mean, I'm on good Wi-Fi, so I thought, but I apologize for throwing you guys all off. I just think it was just too much mass, just too much.
So, Scott, welcome. For people that don't know of you, I mean, you're the man behind the popular Muscle Insider and also the associate director at MuscleTech. So glad to finally have you. So what are your thoughts? I mean, what are you enjoying? What are you feeling from Paraxanthine and obviously the products thus far?
It's been a real a game changer. I started off doing some formulation work with Raza under his leadership, and Sean and I have been friends for years. And last year at Supply Side, he told me about a new stem, and I'd been aware of obviously teacrine and dynamine and what he did bringing those to the market. So when he said he had a new stem, I was like, oh, okay, all right, I'm all ears on this one. And then when I started asking further, is this another derivative of a DMAA or DMHA or whatever the other substances was, and it wasn't, then I started to really get intrigued. And then when I started working with Raza and he was telling me that they were working on this, I was like, wow, okay, so this is a phenomenal ingredient that goes beyond caffeine, but also with a brand that has a global presence for 27 years of business. And it really made me want to be part of the company, to be a bigger capacity than I was in the past. I'd been out of there. I worked there for 6.5 years, 18 years ago. So I was sold at that point. And then when he gave me samples and I tried it and I felt the difference, I was like, okay, this reminds me of the Jack 3D back in the day, trying that first time with that microscope. And I was like, there's something here. And it's not just caffeine. There's something else that's really here. And I knew that Iovate and the MuscleTech brand would do things legitimately on the clinical side. And I knew with Sean's background and with NMB Nutrition manufacturing the raw ingredient, I knew that they would do things, to be, the quality control would be a top notch. And Sean and Raza wouldn't put their name to something and the MuscleTech brand to something that didn't work. So it was cool. I mean, it's been a real ride. It's been fun to be part of it. And right behind you was seeing Raza. That's actually the lab, one of the in-house labs that they have, doing flavoring in-house, doing everything in-house. It's just, Sean, I think you'd kind of set up a hammock and hang out in that lab that he has, and because it's just phenomenal to be able to do that. So it's been a great experience so far. And Euphoric's just on fire. You saw the blessing, Boogeyman Abu is under contract now, and he's loving the product, and got some really cool things coming on that. So anyway, I'm long-winded, but as you can see, I'm stemmed up on Euphoric, so I can't stop.
So is it safe to say that this ingredient is going to be an exclusive to MuscleTech?
Raza, I don't know.
Yeah. I wasn't sure who. Yes, hopefully forever. But as of right now, yes, absolutely. We are all in. Literally, we believe this is the next great leap forward in sports nutrition, energy, focus. It really is huge. So we're really fortunate to bring this to market exclusively. Partnering with the best. Partnering with Ingenious, Sean Wells, Ralph, Martin, Kylan, just having this group, all the quality, all the science, all the trust together. But more, much more to come though. Well, I'd say, because based on all the new science, new ideas, and it's going to be more.
It's just the start. Just the start.
Yeah. So is it safe to say as well that future products using this, there will not be theobromine or theophylline should not be in products because it's a controlled substance, but is it safe to say there will not be theobromine in any products containing paraxanthine?
Yeah, not from our end. Yeah.
And not only that, it's prerequisite that we don't even have caffeine in the product when paraxanthine's used. Infinity.
Straight to the source.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing here.
Raza, how have sales been?
Go ahead, Sean, it's important to understand that Sean doesn't want to mix this with caffeine. And that's what the first thing people will say is, man, why don't I just stack this with? But there's rules. There's rules with using this ingredient. So it's not that they need the money and they got to license it out to as many people as they want. So we have to fit the guidelines, and that's because he wants a better experience, And so I think it's, I as a marketer, I don't like it, but I like it because it gives a better experience for the consumer and it controls the effects that the person's going to have. So I think you don't get that itchy, crummy feeling that you come down off of a high level of stems, which these two could tell you much better than I do as to why that is the case. But you know, that feeling, you just feel like you couldn't even take in. You feel, I mean, Sean talks about being in the locker room and lying on the bed, on the bench and falling asleep, but your eyes are like, you're wide awake, but your body wants to sleep, and you can't really understand why am I not able to sleep, because you know, it's just this different effect that you don't get with Infinity Paraxanthine in our Euphoric.
So Scott, are you a fast responder yourself, or?
Oh yeah, yeah. I've been really a great tolerant of caffeine for many, many years. Obviously, I'm from the ECA stack days, the Thermodrin from Sport Pharma, and you know, thermal cuts from ProLab, and hydroxycut original, Rip Fuel, Metabolite. I mean, I did it all. I mean, I got inspired using diet pills when I was in grade 2, when my mom was using them in weight loss plans that she had in the cupboard, you know, the Dexitrims and stuff like that. So I've always tolerated caffeine very quickly, very quick responder. But I just found that using the Euphoric, I don't like to put my name to a lot of things, but this one was different. And I was just like, man, I don't know why I can hear, I can think faster, better. I can think of things while I'm doing cardio or I'm training arms that I haven't thought about in years. And Sean was trying to explain that part of the mind, but it's just a different effect. And I tell everybody, if you want to take Euphoric the right way, take it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. Don't have a cup of coffee. Don't have breakfast. Don't have anything that would reduce gastric emptying. Take it with enough water to obviously hydrate you, and then wait for 20 to 30 minutes, and then tell me if you think it works or not. Like, so Sean, what did you think, Chance, of the experience? We sent you a tub of it. What are your thoughts on it?
So I was saying earlier, I think you might have fallen off for a moment, but I just felt a good self of well-being with it. Yeah. You know, and I'm a very slow responder. Like, I don't know if you're on the call or not, but I have to cease all caffeine by 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Otherwise, I'm not sleeping at night. So I thoroughly enjoyed it. There was just a good clarity. I'm not going to use tunnel vision, because some people that watch the show hear tunnel vision, they think DMHA type tunnel vision, but it was just a good clarity, just a good self of well-being. And as weird as it sounds, I gauge a good product just for overall clarity. Like when the music in my headphones just sounds clearer. I know it sounds weird to me.
Yes, no, this is something we hear a lot, Sean, is like kind of this HD effect. Like you're just sharper. Yes. Everything's coming faster and easier. I really feel like you're optimized, and you know, you're getting greater blood flow to the brain. You're getting, you know, greater dopamine to your neurons, and you know, everything is just happening at a better level. Like I like to think, you know, this is the kind of EMF exposure you want: energy, mood, and focus, man.
Yep. Raza, so we've talked a little bit about Euphoric. What about Burn IQ?
Yes.
Let's plug that, please.
That's the smartest way to get shredded. This is, I mean, that's what I'm drinking right now. So this has the combination of, you know, the paraxanthine in here, but we also put it with, you know, a bunch of thermogenics, weight loss aids, you know, everything from, you know, grains of paradise, our green coffee extract standardized to chlorogenic acids, which helps with blood sugar metabolism. We got 2 human clinicals on that. Taurine, tyrosine, again, help with the catecholamine release, L-carnitine tartrate. The other thing in here, which makes it really unique, another exclusive ingredient from us, the combination of this with phenol capsaicin. So it's a microencapsulated capsaicin source, which has a phenol group. And it is, you know, it's like exponentially more bioavailable. I think we say between 4 to 8 times more bioavailable than standard capsaicin. The combination of the two, I just, like, you have to try it. It's almost hard to describe, other than you just get this immediate within seconds. Because based on, you know, how the the capsaicin works, you know, activating vanillin and the sensory receptors, that you immediately sort of feel this tingling, this warming sensation, and then that with the clarity, it really is. It's completely unique. We also just leaned in. So from an overall, the way we engineered it, we said, okay, well, capsaicin naturally has this kick, right? The spice. So we just leaned in with the flavors. So we did a sweet heat, for example. So a watermelon with a habanero, and just leaned into that. Like we didn't try to shy away, just like that is what you're getting from the active ingredients, which are all in there, at the right doses for the right reasons, to help people essentially, right? Drop pounds, get that thermic effect, get better results from their workout with their overall diet plan. So yeah, it is something really unique, and it's just a different experience from our Euphoric, which I'd say is more designed definitely for a pre-workout, blood flow, better workouts. Shredding, and getting dropping pounds, but also just getting the most of your workouts. If you're focused on calorie burning.
Sure. Sean, I know you mentioned that with that product you were getting like a paresthesis very quickly. Did you figure out exactly what it was?
I think we need to look into that further. I do get this literally every time. That shows you how insanely bioavailable this phenylcapsaicin is, that there has to be some buccal sublingual kind of effect that's happening where there's uptake under your tongue, and it's literally going to plasma that quickly. And you're getting that paresthetic effect, where you're getting kind of that tingling. I get it in my face within 30 seconds of drinking this. It's nuts. I've never experienced anything like that. And I definitely feel the thermogenic effect, the warming systemically. And I mean, obviously then you're in caloric expenditure there. So it's a really cool combination. As Raza said, it's amazing. MuscleTech is really going down this route of higher end ingredients, more nootropic ingredients. That's the whole IQ effect that we're talking about, whether it's euphoric or burn IQ. This is where you feel sharper, you feel more limitless, Bradley Cooper kind of thing. So it's really awesome. That both of these products, whether you're working on fat loss, you're working out at the gym, you're just connected and you're more HD.
Yep. And I know we always talk with pre-workouts, people love to say there's no crash, but I have to say that there really isn't from this. It's kind of just 1 minute you're feeling really good, and the next thing that kind of brings you down very, very gradually, I would say is maybe the best way to say it.
Yeah. And you get great sleep. Yeah, go ahead, Scott.
No, you're exactly right. And you're seeing the trend that we're seeing with Zoom XR and things like that have always been in pre-workouts, but it's all trying to mimic this, let me bring you down and keep your energy down. But the problem with that is it's not factoring in the half-life of caffeine itself. It's not factoring in the genetic differences that Sean talks about with slow, medium, long responders. And then the other part of it is genetically the conversion to the paraxanthine is genetically independent as well. So if you can take all that guesswork out, it reminds me of the days when we were all happy about pregnenolone and DHEA, and then all of a sudden Patrick Arnold brought one androstenedione, and then it was wait a second, and then Derek Cornelius had 5 androstenediol, and then Pat Arnold did the 4, and you had Bruce and all these people, and you're finding downstream metabolites closer to testosterone, and one testosterone being one. We're sort of going that, hey, let's cut the middleman out and let's go down what your body would convert it to, the most desirable one of the 3 that caffeine's metabolic fate is, and giving a pure form of that, which no one's experienced this in a pre-workout before. I mean, I'm shocked, and I always say this with Sean and Raza, I'm just mad at myself for not looking at this closer. I was and I guess that's thinking, Sean telling the story of how did you discover this? Because when I saw it and said this was in the research that it showed what caffeine converts to, and everyone knew theophylline was a drug, people were selling theobromine as standalone. You can still find it in many, many formulas, but I never saw the paraxanthine ever sold on its own, anyone ever do it. And I wondered, why didn't someone think of this?
So I have a question in the group here for a fast responder, if anybody would like to answer it. Would it be more effective to take this after a super hard mental and physical day and eat something to get your thoughts for the evening in order to get that real feeling of what it can do?
Who wants to answer this? I'll let Raza jump in.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that. I mean, that's an interesting question, to take it after. I mean, it's Oh yeah, let me take a shot at this. I mean, I just think everybody should try it, and it's probably more noticeable if it is taken, further away from caffeine.
Mhm.
To really experience it. The other thing I would say is when you stop taking caffeine, you go off it. It's really hard even after like 72 hours to be off caffeine. But if you take this while you are trying to get off caffeine to even experience it, 'cause again, we're talking about all the great science and how much more unique and more powerful and productive this is, especially in terms of that clarity. But once you start taking this and then you go back to caffeine, the feedback we've been hearing from people is that it just feels dirty.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like that is the one thing I'd explain. So all of a sudden you remove all those distractions and you experience dirtiness. It is distracting, right? So you will get that additional clarity. So I think that's probably the way to understand and maybe experientially notice the difference would be, again, separate it, try to, do some type of, try to cut caffeine for some bit. But, if you are, and again, we don't recommend stacking it. Just knowing caffeine is going to be in your bloodstream for a long time. And, even the way we formulated this, you'll notice like for example, the coffee extract in here, the neurofactor, it is a decaffeinated source. And that was really important, just to truly benefit from everything else going on in here. So if you do take them together, what I will say is you'll probably be going, I mean, that's a lot of stems. So you'll be going for a while.
And we actually did research on this, Sean, that when you co-administer, we saw counterproductive effects. It was much less cognitive and physical benefit versus administering the paraxanthine alone. So, and that makes sense with everything that we talked about. Paraxanthine is the next leap forward. Why would you mix it with the last generation one step back?
Sean, what took you down this path for paraxanthine? Because in doing some research, it's not a new product. From what I'm seeing studies back 2013 and whatnot, in kind of mouse trials. But kind of what took you down the path to really take this to the human side of things?
Several things. One, I had worked on, as Scott mentioned, T-creen and dynamine. I have struggled with caffeine my whole life. I have a book called The Energy Formula where I've been through a lot of chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, Epstein-Barr. Like I've had my issues with energy, and I've tried to lean on caffeine, and it just never worked for me and made things worse. So energy to me was always important. And so I've just always been looking at all these pathways and trying to explore them. And I think the biggest thing with paraxanthine, it's not an ingredient that's been around. We're the first ones to bring it to market. It has been studied as a solo compound before in research, as you pointed out. But we did the work on making sure that it was fully compliant. We found natural sources. We did the toxicology work. It is GRAS. It's generally recognized as safe, and that took about a year of our work. I mean, we put probably close to $5 million into this ingredient now, and we have 14 studies. We have 23 patents filed, 7 years of work. So, some of the reason that you might not see it is, one, people weren't sure, whether it was safe, compliant. People weren't sure, like, what's the point versus taking just, I get it from caffeine. There's a lot of reasons, but we definitely have done a lot of work to get to this point, and it's a wholly unique experience that I had high hopes. And when we were telling Raza about it, he had high hopes, and we were going to hang our hat on this. And literally, I mean, you can ask Raza and Scott, like, it has exceeded all of our expectations. I know there's a little trepidation, with MuscleTech having a great reputation and making great products, but it's like, okay, we're going to jump into this pool over here. Like, what's going to happen? Hardcore stim guys, DMAA guys, ephedrine guys, love it. People that don't use stims, that just take maybe a coffee before they work out, or, a soccer mom type or whatever, love it. Everyone is loving it. We're not hearing any negative feedback. It's working for everyone. People are getting great sleep. getting to do amazing workouts in the evening and still getting great sleep. Like it's just exceeding everything that we thought it could be, and we thought highly.
From a study standpoint, what was the tipping point to say, look, we've achieved everything we need, now let's go to market with it?
Yeah, we did really just like internal use. Like that was, first off, we just made it. And so like wanted to see if we could make it. And then I started using it and playing with different doses and combining it with different things. And then we just saw like, look, when you take it by itself, it's best. Again, not using it with caffeine. I tried it with T-Cream Dynamine, all these other things. Like it's just amazing on its own. And then we kind of found the sweet spot with dosing. And then we started funding some studies for sure, along with the grass work. And early on, we were just validating cognitive performance, error rates, and fatigue related to doses, related to co-administration with caffeine, safety parameters. And in those early studies, we saw again that paraxanthine is best on its own, that the sweet spot, is like in this 100 to 300 milligram range. And we're just seeing high efficacy. We're seeing that there's actually a reduction in errors when taking it, which is that effect we're all talking about. Whereas with caffeine administration, you get more stimulation, but as you take more, you get more errors happening. It's that kind of frazzled, disconnected feeling that you're not getting on the paraxanthine.
Understood. Raza or Sean, maybe this is a good question for either one of you. As you know, there's many supplement users that like to play scientists themselves. There's never a product that they're happy with that has everything they need, and they always want to add something to it. Is there anything you would suggest not to add to whether it's one of your products or something with paraxanthine in it? Obviously, we want to stay away from the theobromine because it almost defeats the purpose. But is there anything else that might, dirty it up besides a caffeine type product or caffeine type ingredient, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I'll let Raza jump in a second here, but just, scientifically, I would say avoiding more methylxanthines, and that even includes taking too much of paraxanthine. Like we're formulating these for the way that they're supposed to be used. And people may use them however, we'll see, but like we're formulating these for best experience. And if you use Euphoric, it's incredible. If you use Burn IQ, you can use it twice a day and it's amazing. It'll keep you going. So I just wouldn't add more paraxanthine, but I certainly wouldn't add caffeine, theobromine. I wouldn't add DMAA, add whatever, DMHA, like any of these kinds of things. The ingredients that I would add, we spent years filing patents and working on the synergists and even doing animal studies where we looked at about 50 different compounds for synergists. And between that work, the work we did with humans, and what Raza's done in-house, we put the synergist with Euphoric, like in the product. Like the tyrosine enhances the effect. Tyrosine helps with dopamine. You see like all these ingredients, alpha GPC, like a cholinergic, like helps with it. So we've stacked it with what works already. I don't know what more to really add beyond that. They're really meant to work on their own. There's no upsell, so to speak.
Yeah. Well said. I think, what I'd add to that is, often, we think is, more is better. And, that's not always the case, especially with stimulants, especially ones that, increase, blood pressure, heart rate, and that thing. But we did enough work that it was very deliberate, what type of ingredients to combine for both the Euphoric and the Burn IQ. And touching on what other ingredients would be synergistic, like the tyrosine, but also the cholinergic elements, which we touched on, the huperzine, but also blood flow, right? Mm-hmm. The combination of enhancing blood flow to the brain, like we added New Level, we added neurofactor, like we found and we dialed in. There's many ingredients that we tried along the way. In addition, we tried different potencies, but I'd say you got to try Euphoric. You have to try that combination. You got to feel it, whether you're a fast responder or a slow responder. If you're, like us on the call, we've pretty much tried every type of ingredient and every ingredient combination. just go experience it. Go experience, try it. And from there, we think, you're probably going to get some of the best results that you've seen, and you won't miss. You won't miss some of the other maybe harder hitting. And the other thing I'd say is don't add any other banned substances to it, right? Stay focused on the stuff that you can use.
Raza, is there anything for kind of brain formulas are very popular right now? Is that something that might be an R&D down the road?
Yes. Without telling you too much, it is the possibilities that we have come up with infinity. Our lab is never this clean, but when we got here, let me tell you, we are always thinking of different ideas. Even Sean, we put him to work now when he comes. We have some of the most effective and productive meetings. But Scott and I and the team here, we've also been talking. You're going to see more from us, more with that, and with an emphasis, on nootropics for sure.
Sean, I'm telling you, like I said, like we were thinking about dipping the toe in the pool, and then like one person started diving in, and now we got about 40 people doing cannonballs. It's coming. It's coming. The wave is coming.
So if I can ask too, one of the things that Raza that did, I know I see on your product here is kind of like I'm going to say it's a certificate of authenticity. I mean, it might not be the proper term, but what is the purpose behind that? Were people plagiarizing, or was there some kind of, you're not plagiarizing, but you know what I mean?
Yeah. So we have had issues with counterfeit for sure.
That's
for us, the trust, the confidence that we want our consumers to have, that you are getting legitimate, high quality ingredients, the true studied, trademarked ingredients, like all that comes with this. So this is something that, you scan, you can be sure, the product's been validated. But for us, it was just, how do we give, our consumers and the people that have trusted us for years, how do we kind of reassure them? That's what this was about. And that's why, we spend that additional, money, just give that. There's a ton of innovation, across the board, in this product, literally from, the ingredients that were selected in there, to the flavor system, to the design, to the augmented reality experience in here as well, where you scan it, you get more information and can understand more about the product. But that's what it comes down to.
So Raza and Scott, is this in brick and mortar currently?
Yeah, I mean, it's selectively going out to GNC. You're going to start to see it start to trickle in. The most popular GNC stores with the largest reach, you'll start to see that going in. Obviously, with the distribution system the way it is, you're going to see that the best advice is to go to MuscleTech.com, and then you can kind of see where will I get it at that time first. But it'll slowly get in. I mean, for everybody out there, I mean, early January is when you're going to be able to see it in a lot more places. But it obviously is so new that we've really started to pre-advertise it, get the word out there. And of course, people like yourself that are connected to an informed consumer, we wanted to see that you got it before you saw it, in a GNC store. And that's been the same with people all over the world. My good friend Lucas over at Prometheus, Lucas and Lars, and just different people around the world. So many different people around the world are getting their hands on this as just for, hey, out of respect. We know you'd love to try it. Shane Smith at Stack 3D, the Price Plow guys, obviously yourself, Fitness Informant, all the different people that are there. Dave Palumbo at RX Muscle. So definitely we're getting it out there. The Olympia will be the time when it'll be really more of the official launch. You'll see MuscleTech back in the game there. First time MuscleTech sponsored the Olympia was 1996.
Wow. Okay.
So in Chicago. So we've been supporting that show for so many years and helping to shape the fabric. We were title sponsor of that in 2004 for many, many years, and had champions that of that we don't have to mention their names, but we all know who they were. So we've been really a part of the fabric of bodybuilding and supporting the culture and supporting the community. So people will be able to have Burn IQ and Euphoric free samples at the MuscleTech booth at the Olympia. Then you'll see us in LA Fit Expo, and then we'll be near your neck of the woods with Columbus, Ohio, first week of March, Arnold Classic, legendary booth coming out. It's going to be just massive. And at all those shows, you'll see the Boogeyman and a team of athletes So definitely Euphoric's going to kill it early January in most stores that like GNC stores, and it'll slowly trickle out from there.
Will you have Henry Cavill at any of the events?
No. No, we're working on that. I mean, obviously he's a busy guy filming the movies that he's doing. So we have to respect his schedule. But I don't know what would happen if he were to go to the Arnolds. I don't know that, I mean, it would be him and Arnold. And I think they'd need another set of police that are around him that they do with Arnold. But no, we would love to have him. But obviously his priorities is doing what he does with acting and things like that. That's there.
Sure.
But we're really glad to be affiliated with him in the role that he's in with us. So that's been good. But, you know, we cater to many different segments. You know, we're not just the mass market brand that, you know, we obviously have inroads in different communities within powerlifting and bodybuilding and bikini competitors and some of the different areas of just being active lifestyle. And being in over 100 countries, you have different sports in different areas. I mean, we have product manufactured in Japan that there's a lot of people there that are into different sports, competitive ping pong and just different things.
Yep.
I remember Raza a few years back seeing them at FIBO in Germany, big booth, and I saw different sports there that I had not known that they had competitors from teams. And in China, there was different competitors of different sports teams of sports that weren't traditionally popular here in North America. So definitely a broad audience for this.
Pickleball is very popular here in the States. I don't know if you're familiar with pickleball.
I've heard of it.
Here's the buzz for sure. Yeah, hearing more about it.
So, folks, I had another question come in for just a moment here. Would taking paraxanthine help get over a caffeine habit? I don't know if that's a question for you, or unfortunately, folks, Sean had to drop off for another meeting.
Yeah, I'll take that one. I mean, I firmly believe it is. It can really help because really you're going straight to the source. You're going straight to the key source of what caffeine metabolizes down to, and also eliminating some of the the other downstream metabolites that are essentially counterproductive in many ways. So I would say yes, and at the same time, you won't feel like you still have something to support you and get you through that, but it's a slightly different experience. So yeah, I would recommend it for that.
And Raza, I know you brought it up earlier, and actually, obviously, we connected on LinkedIn. Thank you. You've been with Iovate for 15 years. That's unheard of in today's marketplace. Like nobody stays, whether it's supplement, anything whatsoever. Nobody stays in the company 15 years. What's kept you there?
That's a great question. I am obsessed with supplements. So I'll start with that. I've had the pleasure of being involved in some of the biggest launches in our industry. Over 15 years. And, for me, when I joined, what I always, Iovate was already, a machine doing really well, had, incredible products, really good marketing. But I still thought there was just, there's so much potential with it. And I found, what's been in our DNA, that science element, creating great products. It's just been a really great ride where the journey has allowed me, to put my signature around products and product formulations, but also do what's important to me and, having those shared values, which is, make sure you got great, credible science. We're focused on quality. We're focusing on making the best products, and then having a lot of great talent. I got to say, there is amazing people in this building that are just very creative. Love what they do, and it's kind of contagious when you get here. Literally, like we have this huge headquarters, like hundreds of people in this building, all the R&D, all the quality, the members of my team, we're all in house. We're not just a lot of people, they outsource those things. We don't. We do that here. So I always felt that my role was really critical, that I had something really important to do. And because of that, I've I feel like I got the best job. Love what I do. So just fortunate.
Are all the brands underneath the Iovate roof, or is it Iovate and then different buildings for the different brands?
No, it's all one building. Yeah.
Interesting.
So
Scott,
you have the Hydroxycut division, then you have the MuscleTech division, then you have the 6-Star division. A lot of people don't realize Six Star is one of
Mhm.
the selling sports nutrition companies in North America. If I'd argue top 3, no doubt, which you'd never think of that in the meathead sort of space that we sort of follow. But when you see the volume that they do in Walmarts and different places around that, it's
Mhm.
just staggering, because it's not like we don't look at Body Fortress often if you're in the meathead space and the really serious, but they do a phenomenal job. Cytosport does a phenomenal job with Muscle Milk. There's so many brands that do really well that they're not in the talk about the Glaxons and some of the different brands, the arms races and different people.
Yeah.
But when you look at who's moving the most amount of protein powder and gainers and creatine and things like that, it's not quite the edgy brands you sort of know of in the specialty channel or in the direct-to-consumer brand business. The other line division is Purely Inspired, which is
Okay.
the organic sort of feel-good, natural kind of line that you'll see that in Walmart, and you'll see that all over the U.S. and Canada. They do very, very well. So there's different silos that the company has, and then they have teams specifically to that. But Raza's team does the formulations for all of that together. So it's kind of it's kind of cool, and it becomes a bit competitive, like if you're, in my case, on the MuscleTech brand and you see Six Star doing a really great job, it kicks you in the ass. You're like, man, I gotta step it up. Like I gotta do this, and I gotta do this. So I'm always fighting for Raz's time and saying, what do you have in the lab, man? Like, we need this, we need this. No,
Yeah.
don't tell those guys about that. So it's not really like that, but it raises the game, and there's such smart people that and they have so much energy to win, and the leadership team, the CEO is a very much a win-win-win guy, and empowers you, and it just it's a very cool culture. The gym I've never seen a gym in any supplement company that could rival this gym. It's different when you have a commercial gym like Redcon has the Redcon gym. It's a little different because
Sure.
it's a public gym, but in terms of a private gym in the building, it's nuts. It's absolutely crazy.
Scott, you've been doing this for a while. What about I'm going to date you, see if you date yourself here. What about the EAS gym back in the 90s? Have you ever seen that? Pictures of it, at
I
least.
saw the photos of it, and I've been to the building itself.
Have you?
I stood there. I consulted for Isatori at one point, and I got the tour from the former international head of Isatori, was actually a former EAS header, is the owner, the original founder of Isatori. And Sean Phillips was the second founder of Isatori, and he was Bill Phillips' brother. So I learned a lot about that. The building isn't as big as you saw in the photos. They did the right camera angle. But yeah, no, it's the MuscleTech Iovate gym is like, I slipped in the MuscleTech Iovate gym, but no, the Iovate gym is the biggest I've seen in house with any company, and the amount of money that they must have spent. They have 200-pound dumbbells.
Wow.
Like the amount of things, and what's cool is the hand-picked pieces. The original founder was a connoisseur of bodybuilding, loved bodybuilding. All throughout the building, you can see the Mr. Olympia winners on the walls in black and white framed photos. And then you can see some that didn't win the Olympia but were inspiring to him, like Tom Platz and people like that. Office has got a real Terminator, because he loved Arnold. So you see the actual robot Terminator, and that's a Terminator boardroom. And then they have the Predator boardroom, and his actual life-size Predator that's in the room. So it's got this really cool culture to the company that has been a lot. But no, I wasn't at that gym to answer your question. No, I wasn't there. But it was legendary. I mean, they had a hair salon, they had a tanning salon.
Oh,
they
wow.
had an in-house chef to cook food for people. They had a movie theater. It was next level for that era. Just like the Joe Leader era for that era was massive. But it's just different eras. It's not better. It's just at that time who's sort of winning, who's losing, and obviously Iovate is winning quite a great deal, and we're going to just keep on going in this direction. So,
with the recent signing of Blessing, will we be seeing more bodybuilders once again? Kind of maybe not going back to the magnitude of the 90s and 2000s, where you had almost every top 5 bodybuilder under the umbrella. I mean, I've been following. I go all the way back to Greg Kovacs back in the 90s. But is that something we'll be seeing, or is Blessing maybe just a one-off?
No, it's a good question that you ask. I've been a fan of bodybuilding, as you know, for a long, long time. but I have seen the changing of the word bodybuilding to mean different things. And I've seen the NPC and the IFBB change that. And with Muscle Insider, I really saw that change on the competitive side, because roughly 50% of the NPC card holders are bikini competitors. So if that's 50% of the entire competitive area, then you're really saying that that NPC competitor is 50% bikini. Then you've got figure and fitness, women's physique, women's bodybuilding. There's a number of classes that are there. And then on the bodybuilding side, you have the classic physique, you know, with Chris Bumstead as a fellow Canadian, you know, just completely crushes it out there. But that's more of the 80s style bodybuilding, men's physique, obviously 212 class and these different categories. The definition of bodybuilding has really changed. But really and I kind of sometimes think they should get rid of the word, because you say bodybuilding to people, and we picture the banana hammocks and the Pro-Ten, throwing them all on and hitting most musculars. But now it's really building your body, and everybody has a different goal. And some people have genetic propensity to be bigger. Some people just can't gain that much muscle no matter what, or sometimes they don't want to. I mean, I think that I have met bodybuilders that I've asked them this, that are struggling at the national level. They're 230, 240. And I said to them, look, if you could win the Olympia by going into the men's physique class and getting endorsement contracts and making money at living doing this, quit your job, would you do it? And they said, never. I would never want to be like those board short guys. Even if I could be the Olympia winner, I'd be where I am now if I can be 240 on stage, because this is me. It's a symbolic.
Sure.
So in answering your question, MuscleTech is more than just a bodybuilding brand. They cater to different goals.
Sure.
And there's people all over the world that use the products. There's people that may go to a Walmart or a Rite Aid or CVS and use our products. But the thing that anchors it all together is science. And that's really science, quality. And that's why when I worked in R&D under Raza, I liked the products before, but I liked them even more after spending 2 months there, because I realized this guy actually cares. And I've consulted now for over 50 supplement companies, and a lot of times it's bro science. Yep. It's what it is. It's that they look at a label, they turn the label, they look at the number of milligrams, and they see, oh, they have 3.2 grams of beta alanine. Let's do 3.3.
Yes,
you know,
it's a game.
And or they go, caffeine is at, oh my gosh, like we saw that pre-workout, or that it was a fat burner the other day that launched, and I think it was 550 milligrams of caffeine. And it's like, okay, someone will do, and I remember this when I was at MuscleTech back in the day, Raz, it's in your product room. A company did, SciFit did 100 milligrams of caffeine in a pill. Of ephedrine, when 25 milligrams was the upper limit.
Wow.
And then the government stepped in Canada and made the Canadian manufacturers of ephedrine go to 15 milligrams, then made them go down to 8 milligrams. But this company went 100. When I consulted for Dorian Yates Nutrition, helped do GH Blast for Australia. It was a sleep product with Phenibut and some other, it was very similar to Somatomax from High-Tech. And when I tried the Nox pump, it had the 1,3-dimethylamine. And I went, how many milligrams do you have in this? And they said, 60. And the guy in charge, and it wasn't Yates, but I was working directly for Yates. So dealing with him every second day was a dream come true. I was like, man, I can't believe he's asking me for advice. And then at the end of the call, I'd always say, hey, what's better? Reverse grip, bent over row with a forward hand or reverse grip. And he's just listening. He thought it was great. And then I would ask him, hey man, is it true that you took this drug or you did that for that Olympia when you gained that 26 pounds? And when he tell you the real story as a friend, because you're helping him with his business, you knew you're getting the real truth.
Yeah.
But I asked his partner at the time, why did you do 60 milligrams of DMAA? And he goes, well, we found out that companies were doing 20 milligrams, so we did 3 times as much.
Yep.
And I was just like, that's the reason. And the way Raza formulates is, what does the research say? How does this ingredient fit with this ingredient? And it's not a hot stuff kitchen sink. Let's put a small bit of Smilax and dibencoxide and Mumi and all these different things. in microscopic amounts to actually just have a longer label. It's a more narrow label, but more clinical doses and more thought behind the synergy of the full formula. So I know that was a rant. I don't want to, take Raza's thunder, but I've seen so much of what I didn't like that I kind of became disenchanted. And I guess, Raza, going to you and working in formulations was because I was so sick of what I saw. I kind of wanted to work for an A-tier company that would do clinical researches and fund studies, U of T and McMaster and all these places that they fund research, and partnerships with the Genius Ingredients and NMB Nutrition on the ingredients and doing real research. It's like, I can tell you so many brands, I've had consulting calls with them and they say, I don't fund any research because I don't want the research to show it doesn't work, and they'll just instead create scientific sounding names in their complexes. That's what they do. I mean, and they make space age fonts and then show a last stock image of a guy in a lab coat. It's not real research. It's not real. And you look at the academic background of some of these people, you'd be surprised at what they do. I mean, it's incredible. Some of the things I've seen, it made me realize that it's not really the thing you really want to have your kids use. It's not the thing you really could honestly tell a really good friend that he should use and feel safe saying that. But I know that I don't feel that way with this company. I'm not saying there's not great companies out there. There's some phenomenal great companies out there, and I've been fortunate to work for some of them. But some of the stuff I consulted for a company, and the person in the manufacturing told me that they had a product with a bolt in it, bolt in a protein powder.
Okay.
And I was like, and they said, oh, well, we hire a lot of temporary workers, and one of them dropped the bolt into the protein powder.
Oh,
I've had companies tell me specifically that they take an expired protein powder when its date is expired and they blend it into a gainer. And if you can take an expired blend of protein and you can blend it into a gainer, and then they lab test the microbes, it's been averaged down because it has to be below a certain level. But that's not it shouldn't happen. It should be thrown in the garbage. You can't just recycle this stuff. It's, so I've seen so much that we don't do. And so if that means that Iovate is slower, or we have longer times it takes to put a product out, at least I know that when I recommend it to you or to somebody else, that they have quality control at the top part of their SOPs. So it's just different. I mean, Raza, cut me off because I'm talking too much about this stuff.
No,
I'm so passionate about quality, and I see a lot of other companies get a lot of credibility for knocking off leaders and not how easy it is to just times 2 on any ingredient and say I'm twice as strong as a leading brand, and that doesn't mean that was designed to be that way.
No, you're right there. I mean, I think that's part of the low barrier of entry too, right, in the industry. And at the same time, very few companies that have been around for a decade or 2 decades, getting close to 3. I mean, you got to be doing something right. Everything you're talking about, it's just really deliberate. If we're going to make a product, it's a product that we want to believe in. We want to know it works. We want to know we selected the highest ingredients, the highest purity. Like you mentioned, Scott, right? It's the things that we want to put into our bodies. We want to recommend to our friends, to our families. And, that's how we make an impact, right? So muscle building, recovery, strength. I do have the ability, which I love. I'm formulating for all these brands. And often, over those years, so for example, MuscleTech, we recently got into plant-based. And it's all about performance, but a plant-based protein. But, we were formulating for over 10 years plant-based proteins under Purely Inspired. So it's not like we've been doing that. And what we did is we just kept getting better at it and better at it. And once we realized we had a solution that deserved to be under the MuscleTech brand for a consumer that cares about muscle, not just hitting their protein nutritional needs and making sure it tastes good, but, enhanced recovery, enhanced muscle strength, muscle growth, that's when we went and put it in MuscleTech. We have a patent pending. We actually submitted a patent for the complex, for example, that we use. But that's just, that's our mentality. It's like no detail
Sure.
is too small.
Well, gents, it's truly been a pleasure. Is there anything else maybe that we haven't tackled that you want to let the listeners know about, or?
What about you? Sub Talk Radio. What got you? I mean, what was the first supplement? The first few supplements you used? And I'm gonna throw you on the spot in this question.
Wow, Raza, again, I know it's late for everybody. If everyone has to cut off, please,
Good. I want to hear this.
Scott. So I appreciate that. So I'll give you a little bit of my background in a nutshell. Okay, I just turned 50 this year, so I've been training since the 80s. Okay, I was that typical, 8% body fat, 130-pound individual that I needed to get in the gym and get bigger. Okay. I want to say my first product that I tried was Twin Labs, like Amino 1600, which were these horse pills that you take like 6 or 8 of, because I didn't know any better. And then after that, my next product was Lee Haney had a weight gainer by Twin Labs. This was probably 87, 88 when Lee Haney was almost at his peak. Already had 2, 3, 4 Olympias. Yes, mass fuel. So continued that route. Competed a few times in the 90s. Florida State University, nutrition and exercise science is my background. And then moved up here to Massachusetts. And I've been in the life science market since then. I'm a consultant for different pharmaceutical and medical device companies and HR, talent acquisition. And back in 2013, I started the show here because I always learned there was so many people that took products but knew nothing about them. It was all, dude, you got to take this because you're going to feel good, or dude, it tastes great, but nobody understood the true nature of the products. So I started the podcast here, and here we are 9 years later, and it's a hobby, it's a passion. I mean, selfishly, I do it to learn myself, and if I get some followers, if I get some listeners, my job is done. If I can educate one person to make them understand the good and the bad, steer away a prop blend and look at something that's, all transparent label. Not to say that all transparent labels are good, but at least you have the choice to understand.
No,
and that's how I am. And Scott, I appreciate you reaching out to make this happen. I mean, that's the long and short of it. I love the business. I'm going to compete again after 25 years next year. Going to try to do something so my wife and my kids can see me compete.
Nice.
And that's kind of like my long-winded story.
No, that's cool. I still remember those horse pills, the big caplets. Twin Lab was just an awesome company, and the brown jars that they used to have to print.
Yes. I don't know if it was to keep the sunlight, to keep things from degrading, or if it was just something to, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, it's just it's a really great industry to see it evolve the way it is, and really back then you had the the Cybergenixes of the world, and then you had Twin Lab, and you had the Weider Nutrition Group, and then it was really AES that kind of said, let's take the marketing of what Cybergenics kind of marketed science, and actually let's do some real science with Anthony Almada and Ed Bird. And I think it really just changed the way the world worked in the nutrition area, because there was published studies on an ingredient, and creatine obviously was the linchpin to making that work, because you will gain weight when you use that. But it's amazing that innovation happened in 95, or sorry, it was 94, or I think it was when creatine phosphogene launched. And 93, there was some early with California Body Club, I think had it in 93. But if you look at now, it's one of the hottest ingredients of this year.
Oh, sure.
And look at the amount of research that's there. And like, I remember there was a study that showed that if you break your arm, you'll heal faster if you take creatine than if you don't. Like there's so many applications of this that Bill Phillips was telling me. I was at his wedding anniversary, believe it or not. I was in Hawaii, and I was like hanging out with him. I couldn't believe it. And he was telling me about, I guess it was Pfizer was looking at treating Parkinson's with the combination of lipoic acid, creatine, and I think coenzyme Q10 for Alzheimer's and dementia and things like that with memory, because I guess Raza can touch on this more than I could, but the neurons in your brain are powered by ATP. And so if you can regenerate ATP with ADP and AMP to ADP to ATP through creatine phosphate and the phosphate energy system, you can get more ATP, which means your brain neurons are going to be able to work harder, longer, just like a muscle. And no one at the time, we all talked about creatine loading, but no one in the muscle, no one knew there was an increased storage capacity in the brain that you could have with this. So I love creatine now because of the memory improvements. I love it obviously for muscle recovery and things like that. Cell volumization is nice, but it's just amazing to see something that 95 to now where we are, it's still standing tall with whey protein and there's not much better that you can do. You can find ways like we have with our creatine to make it a bit better. And there's a few different formats we know with creatine HCl, etc., but still creatine at the end of the day. And now we've got paraxanthine as the next creatine, the next real thing that I really think that this will be the hottest ingredient since DMA. I don't see anything close to it. And it's exciting to be part of a campaign and having athletes like Blessing that can help us get the word out. So.
I mean, kudos to MuscleTech. Let's be honest here, that you guys have survived the test of time, because all the big brands in the 90s that I grew up with, the Twin Labs, and then you start going to 2000s, the BSNs, I don't even know if Twin Labs still around anymore. I know BSN,
still there.
But they seem like they're just all a shell. Like that was the big brands is what drove everything. Maybe it was because of the magazines and the ad space. But now I feel that a lot of the smaller companies are the ones that are really, you hear more about. I mean, that's just me.
No, you're right. It's a change. I mean, it's you're always going to have a market as it matures. It's going to fractionate, and you're going to you see it in tech companies. You see it all the way through. And for now, we all see the different direct-to-consumer brands that have in the last 4 years gone into the specialty retail channels and done a phenomenal job. And now we're seeing those in mass market areas. And so that's different. That's changing it. But I think these mass market areas are starting to get some pretty good products. Like you can find some quality products from MuscleTech. You can find them from other brands as well. But that is training the shopper to take a look in these other areas in your Walmart store, your Rite Aid store, your CVS, or your Walgreens. And I think that's a good thing. But I think it really makes it for Raza and I to sort of say, what do we do to come up with something truly innovative that you can only get at a GNC store, or you can only get at a direct from the website, from the company. And I think brands like Ghost Lifestyle have done a phenomenal job of coming out with unique flavors and collabs that you can buy direct. And it's just raising the game for all of us and making us go. The consumer in the end is the one who's winning. They're getting more variety, getting better quality, and that just makes the consumer get a better job, better end product. But at the end of the day, you have to balance it out, right? In terms of how big do you want to be and what are your goals as a business. I feel like a lot of the brands you mentioned and that are top of mind in what you look at, you can see them in the isolation in the US, and then you can come to Canada where we are and you can see the top 5 selling brands in the specialty channel are not US brands. How in Europe you can see companies like Olymp and Biotech USA with their own supplement stores called Biotech USA. Like, how is it a brand, a supplement store, and they have chains of these things. So it's just different, it's just, I think the real thing you can't do is just think it's going to be the way it was in the last 12 months. You sort of have to see where is it going and not jump to where it might be, but really be willing to pivot and move as if the pandemic happens, this is what we'll do. And our CEO always says you have to have a contingency plan. You have to have a plan B that can keep you relevant and evolving and whatnot.
Evolving's key. You got to keep evolving, right? I mean, I was sad to see some of the companies that I remember back in the day, that fortunately didn't stick it out. And for us, it's you got to keep evolving, right? It's why are we in this, right? We want to keep making greater products, and there was a lot of I've even heard some folks being surprised about us for example, bringing Infinity to market. And I was like, well, no, I mean, innovation's always been really important to us, right? Like that's actually critical. The reason why we're able to bring this and, stay on the top of our game is because how great the science was, partnering with the best, having that mutual respect with researchers, partners in the industry that knew that we're doing it right, we're doing it for the right reasons, and that they had also the right data. There's a lot of ingredients, for example, that we walked away from that, I probably saw them, before a lot of other people. And I'm just like, we can't do it, right? The data is, in some cases, the data got there. In some cases, the data was never there. And, we didn't jump on gimmicks. We just kept evolving. And that's really important. And now we're really focused on what we need to do here. And you can't hang your hat on your last innovation. So, we're all in here, but we're always thinking about, what's next? How do we improve this? How do we evolve it? And I think it's one of the things that's helped us.
Okay, so Sean, I'm going to stump you. I'm going to test something here.
Okay.
I want you to name a branded ingredient, and I want Raza to see if he's ever worked with it. Because I can't name a branded ingredient that he actually won't say that he actually, oh yeah, that one. We launched that in 2006. It's like things that are new, you think they're new. They're just new to you and I, but they're not new to a guy who's been at the top of the game with a brand as big as they are.
Oh, you asking me to name something?
Yeah, name
I would.
That you think
I might be wrong in saying this because I'd say Yohimbe because I thought Yohimbe was banned in Canada.
So you're right. Maybe. You're right. You can't use it in Canada. So of course we have used it because of the U.S. products. In fact, with Yohimbe, I've actually had a lot of fun with Yohimbe over the years because this is going back probably circa around 2010, 2011. I mean, we were using it for a long time, but when we were trying to find a replacement for the geranium DMMA, the amount of work that we did with Yohimbe and the true way, what we had to do, the real challenge is not using Yohimbe and HCl. Very easy to work with Yohimbe and HCl. Having to work with the bark and ensure that you get the consistency of the experience because the difference in the alkaloids. So we literally worked on standardizing because there's more alkaloids than you think, not just Yohimbe in there. Literally, like I had tested, the amount of suppliers I had tested, the amount of ratios. Our PD brief was standardized for Yohimbe and then total alkaloids, and it was precise. So of course, there's a lot of other ingredients that I've had the pleasure. The one thing that's interesting that I find is that a lot of ingredients, keep recirculate after some time. They were like all of a sudden, like now I've noticed like, Elevate DP, nitrosogen, all these ingredients again. Fun about. I mean, we're essentially we brought like for example nitrosogen first to market. We partnered with a great company, Nutrition 1. There's so many ingredients like that over the years, but just seeing kind of how it's evolved is always interesting to see.
It's nice though because hopefully Paraxanthine will kind of take off like we're hoping here. Because we need some, and I hate to say this, not to insult a company like yourself, we need some new innovation. There's these ones-off that are coming out, but again, we'll take the pre-workout space. Oversaturated, it's the same 4 to 5 ingredients in every pre-workout. Not to say that's bad because they work, but we need some freshness.
Yeah, I totally agree. I completely agree. So the one observation I'll say is that I do believe products have gotten better over the years. And the industries have elevated. So happy about that. But to your point, it all looks the same. It looks very similar, not much innovation. And for me here, like this is part of the reason why we really leaned in a big way. Like we saw the science, but even when I saw the science, I've naturally explored with so many ingredients, you got to try it too, right? It's like, okay, I understand the science. I remember writing white papers and digging into all the caffeine metabolism research. Does Paraxanthine though deliver? Sometimes you get disappointed from a metabolite. It just doesn't hit the same way. But when it does, and then when you start to understand how it interacts with other ingredients, that's kind of like the difference with Euphoric. So Paraxanthine Infinity is excellent. Try it with the combinations and the doses that we tried. That's really special. And I do. You only it's only once. I think we all want to improve on the last generation, and we all want to continue to improve in supplements. I do firmly believe this is it. This is going to change the game.
Yeah, I think when you come out with a true focus product using this, I think it's going to be really big. And I'm not just saying that to be nice, because I think the focus category is growing exponentially.
Right.
Yeah. No, definitely. Definitely. We don't want to give away anything, but definitely the pipeline that they have is just super exciting. And Raza's in a amazing position where he's the first to be able to try it all. No, it's really exciting. But no, thanks so much for having us. You obviously been following your career for a long time in the Sub Talk Radio
career. Thank you.
And no, it's been really good, the passion that you have and seeing it. And it's like, you do it because you love it, and your audience is obviously really fanatical about supplements. And I really wanted to get Raza and Sean a chance to sort of just be themselves. And the other thing about this is live, so we can't just definitely you know what actually is silly, that I'm actually my start on this show sucked on my desktop, and when I'm using a phone, it's been perfect ever since. So I don't know if it's my computer or what's going on, but thanks for having the patience for us today, and thanks for having us. Always appreciate the opportunities that you're providing us with.
Thank you. Raza, one last question. Do you follow bodybuilding?
I do.
Okay, so let's wind with this last question. Give me your top 3 for the actual men's Open Olympia in 2 weeks or 3 weks. And we can laugh about this and see who's close in a couple of weeks.
So I do think I think Ramby's got it.
Okay.
I do. From a size, physique, the way we had it. For the top, it's hard to say for the others. In no particular order. I think maybe Curry in second or third.
Okay.
Think I have him there. And I'm just having a blank. The Iranian bodybuilder. Yes, Hadi. Yes, exactly. Those are my favorites, both from sort of physiques, and I think they'll. But there could be a little bit of movement there between the top. I do see them, definitely all of them in the top 5 at the very least.
Okay? So who will be your dark horse? Not regardless of placement, but who do you think is going to surprise everybody this year? This isn't a trick question. It's just an honest question.
It's a good question. I think Hadi. I think he there's probably some others, but I got him in there. I think he may have underperformed based on what he can do. If he comes in dialed in. That's my thought. Scott, what do you think?
I think Boogeyman is going to be the dark horse. I think that not because we signed him, but just the shoulder to waist differential, just the flare in the quads, how small his midsection is, the amount of muscle he's gained on his back in the last year, from when he placed, I think it was 2nd and 6th last year, to winning the 2. I think it was 2nd place and 6th place, and then he returned to the exact same shows, the Indy Pro and the New York Pro, to win them both. And the amount of muscle he gained from the prior year to this last year is just showing the genetic potential.
Sure.
And I know that he's using Amino Build. I know that he's using NitroTech. I know that he's using Euphoric and everything else. And so I definitely Burn IQ. He's going to be using that all the way at the Olympia prep. And you're going to see us in his hotel room at the Olympia doing stuff there. So I just think that when you have the finances behind you, when you have a team behind you, you need the right nutrition, you need the right diet, you need the right supplementation, and the right coaching. He has George Farah working with him. All the stress that he was under with his, over the last year, with some of the uncertainty in his immigration status, which we all know about. We saw the phone where he was crying. To be here, to go through what he had to do, to go to Ireland and then immigrate to here and be on a limited visa, that's tough. That stress that you have with having to keep your contract in place, otherwise you gotta exit the country. How can you really prepare for a bodybuilding contest with that much cortisol.
Oh,
Doesn't
sure.
matter if you take Muscle Link's Court Block or you take some of those early cortisol lowering products. It doesn't matter. You need to have consistency, and we definitely feel he's just a positive guy. He just doesn't seem to let things bother him quite as well. And being in Boca Raton at the Mecca, training with Kai Green the other day, like, he's in a really good spot. And I'm not going to say he's going to beat Big Ramy. I'm not here to say that, and I'm not here to say Brandon Curry or Hadi Chupin. There's a fight going on there. Nick, obviously, Mutant Walker, but Andrew Jack as well, which I don't mind admitting to you guys on this, that I wanted to sign Andrew Jack before BSN got him. He was one of the guys that I wanted him. 6'2", phenomenal, undefeated as a pro. Yeah, he's going to be the one that a lot of people will be watching too. And to have that Cedric McMillan shape, that Lee Haney type of shape, but at that height, no one's ever been at 6'2" at that much size and the aesthetics still. I mean, Greg Kovacs was bigger at 6'3" to 6'4".
It wasn't aesthetic.
The aesthetics, and that's bodybuilding is an aesthetic competition. So I definitely think it's going to be exciting. And all
right, Scott, 1, 2, and 3. Come on, give us your 1, 2, and 3.
There's no possible way that Ramy is going to lose in my mind, especially with the skull face stuff we've been seeing lately. Brandon Curry is the most complete guy. He's gained some new size too, as long as he can provide himself into shape with that new size. A lot of times the things that these guys have to do to gain more muscle hurts them with getting really sharp and dialed in. So if he can come down in enough time, he'll be very lethal. Hadi Chupin's already in America, and is the level of conditioning that he brings is going to be hard if anybody is off. But if Ramy's in shape and Brandon's in shape, they are not going to lose to Hadi. That's your top 3.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I would love to see, but in one more year, I mean, Boogeyman's only been on our product for a week. So gotta give it time. I mean, Raza's good, but he's not that good. Okay, like, it's gonna take more than a week to get this guy to win the Olympia.
I saw. So I'm personally saying, and I actually have a show Sunday with some people on a prediction show. So I think Ramy's gonna win it again unless something happens at the 12th hour. And I'm actually thinking that Bonik is gonna place higher than Brendan Curry.
Okay, it would be.
And I think Hadi, and for me, my dark horse is gonna be Samson Duda.
Yeah. He's got a great physique.
Yeah. So, gentlemen, where can people find you on Instagram, social media? Please plug that as we wind down.
Okay. We're at MuscleTech for obviously anything MuscleTech related. For me, it's Scott Welch Live. And Raza? What's yours? Is it Raza _Bash?
I think you just said Raza Bashir.
Raza Bashir. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, gentlemen, again, it's truly been a pleasure. I really do appreciate the time. And for everybody listening, thank you so much. If you're listening to this on an audio platform, please make sure to give us a comment as well as a review. That helps us in the ratings. And as always, thank you so much. Have a great rest of the day.
Thanks, Sean.
Thanks, Sean.